Hello, we are here in the Badger Kitchen for the next in our spring virtual cookie workshop series, and I'm super excited to share with you one of our favorite recipes. This is like definitely a Badger favorite. It is a sweet potato chickpea coconut curry. It's so good. It's plant-based. There's no animal products in here at all, no dairy, no meat. So if you are trying to try out plant-based, this is a great one to start with. And it has all those healthy fats in the coconut milk. And it has all the vitamin A and delicious goodness of a sweet potato, which is like just packed with vitamins and minerals. It has spinach, so you get your dark leafy greens in there and all those benefits. And it has a whole bunch of herbs that are anti-inflammatory and warming and fabulous herbs for your body too. So not only is this delicious, it's also very nutritious. So you may still have sweet potatoes from your garden in the fall. If you harvested them and cured them, they may still be kicking around. So that's why we're featuring sweet potatoes. And if you have a hoop house or some kind of low tunnel or season extension structure, I know our spinach is starting to pop up in our hoop house, so that is why we're featuring spinach today too. The growing season is just around the corner, y'all. We started our very first seeds in the greenhouse last week. Woo, it's happening. So get ready. So the way that we make this dish, it's so easy and fast, which I also appreciate as a working mom and as a teacher who has 1 hour to cook meals with kids. So the first thing that I did, well, I guess I'll show you what I did ahead of time. So first thing is to peel the sweet potatoes and then cut them into cubes. The smaller you cut them, the quicker they'll cook. So you can think about the combination of what kind of size you like to bite combined with how much time you have to cook it, because it really will cook faster if they're smaller. So this is about 3 cups of sweet potatoes, which is about 2 big sweet potatoes, maybe 2.5. And I also cut up about the equivalent of like a 14-ounce can of tomatoes. So this was maybe 2 or 3 tomatoes worth of tomatoes, just diced up nice and small. The next piece is going to be a red onion. So I usually put about a half a red onion in. And the flavor, you can use any kind of onion you have. If you don't have a red onion, you can really use whatever you've got, white, yellow. But red onions have a slightly different kind of flavor. If you're an onion person, you may know that like the white onions, you think of like the pico de gallo kind of a flavor. And with yellow onions, you think of like stews and soups. And with red onions, they just kind of have their own way about them. So I'm just going to dice up a half of a red onion and pop it in there. Ideally, you would cook this with coconut oil to get a little more of that coconut flavor in there. If you don't have coconut oil, which we don't today, you can also just use any kind of cooking oil you have on hand, like olive oil. So I'm going to use that as well. So here's my half an onion. I'm going to put about 3 cloves of garlic in here too. So I'm just going to crush those garlics with the side of my knife to loosen the skin, the covering, so that I can easily peel that off of there. And another thing that makes this recipe super delicious is fresh ginger. It really adds a different kind of flavor. If you don't have fresh, you can use dry, but I will say fresh is better. Better tasting for this menu. And now I'm going to have to cry for a while because these onions are really getting my eyes. Oh, all right. So I'm just dicing up these, I guess I would say mincing up the garlic. You can also get what we call in my family jarlic, which is already minced garlic in a jar if you're in a time crunch. And that's great and easy to use. If you have a garlic press, that makes it easier too. So I have my red onion, my garlic, my sweet potatoes, my tomatoes, my spinach, and I'm going to take my ginger next. I want about 3 to 4 teaspoons of grated ginger. You can also buy, I found, sort of like jarlic. You can buy pre-minced fresh ginger, which I had never seen before, but I found some at the store recently. I was like, oh. So I'm just going to grate this up. It's a little bit fibrous, so if you get down to the super, super fibery parts, you don't have to put those in. You can put those in your compost. And just stick with the little bit less fibrous parts. So here's our ginger ready to go. And we're gonna also put the juice of 1 lime. So we're just gonna juice this up. All right, so just juicing 1 lime, and you'll wait to put the spinach and the lime in until the end. So you really just want to throw the spinach in at the end when the sweet potatoes are nice and tender and everything is cooked, and just let it wilt. And then you mix it in, and I'm telling you, it is like a delicious meal. And if your family is not really into spinach, it still is a delicious meal because you really can barely taste the spinach in there, but it adds all the spinachy goodness. All right, and so the spices that we're going to put into, we have garam masala, which there are so many different ways to make garam masala. When I was in India, families that I was talking with said that a lot of families make their own blend, so it's slightly different depending on where you're eating. We're going to put in a little bit of paprika, just for a little bit of heat. We're going to put in curry powder, which really is a blend of spices, including turmeric, which is a really great anti-inflammatory herb for your body. And we're going to put in a little cumin, a little black pepper, and a little salt. If you don't have curry, you can use coriander and turmeric and cumin together to make like a curry-ish type spice blend if you don't have the curry. So, we ready? Should we do it? Let's do it. All right, we're gonna walk over, and like I said, I usually use coconut oil for this, but since what we have is olive oil, that will do the trick. And I'm gonna turn the heat on medium. Onions, get those going first. The tomatoes. You want to cook the onions until they're translucent, and then you want to cook the tomatoes until the liquid starts separating out from the tomato itself. Make kind of you'll start to see them separating, and I'll show you what that looks like when we get to that point. If you have coconut oil, that's a really shelf-stable oil. It's like almost a solid at room temperature, so it's really heat resistant. So it's a great one if you're cooking at high heats to use. It has a bad rap also. You know, I think movie theaters used to use coconut oil for popcorn, and it got a bad rap. But in recent years, it has come back as actually a healthy fat if you use it in moderation and if you use it in the right way. So get that going, and I'm going to grab my spices. All right, so we are just stirring up these red onions and these tomatoes together. And then I'm actually going to throw the ginger on in, and you can kind of smell the aromatics start to come out of that right away. Such a good smell. Ooh, I love fresh ginger so much. It smells so good. And then I'm going to take my garam masala blend, and really you put about a tablespoon or so. I don't usually use a measuring spoon, I just kind of ish it. So I'm going to say about a tablespoon, adjust to taste. And then curry powder, I'm going to put I would say about a teaspoon is what I usually put in there of the curry powder. Again, you can adjust all these spices to your liking. Paprika, if you don't like heat, you can leave this out, or you can add just a little, but it's about a teaspoon of paprika as well. And about a half a teaspoon of cumin, because there's also cumin in some of the other spice blends in here. About a half a teaspoon of salt. Oh, it smells so good. Yum. And about half a teaspoon of black pepper. Oops, not that much. Wow. Don't over pepper it. That will be a lot. Overpowering. And then I'm just going to stir it up. Oh, man. And if you make this, your whole place is going to smell so good for hours. That's part of the fun of making this dish. So yeah, the tomatoes are already starting to separate a little bit. If you want to peek in the pot, you can see the kind of liquid of the tomatoes separating out from the meat of the tomatoes, and that is what you're looking for. And at that point, I will add in my garlic, or your jarlic, whatever one you choose to use. Mix it up a little bit. You don't want to put the garlic in with the onions because garlic will cook quicker and sometimes it'll burn on you. And then I'm going to take my sweet potatoes, boom, pop them in there. I'm going to take my chickpeas or garbanzo beans, which I did drain and rinse them. Pop those in there, 1 can. And then I'm going to stir those up a little bit. And then you're going to add a whole can of coconut milk. I prefer to use the full fat coconut milk so that you can get all those good fats in this dish too. And all that delicious rich coconut milk taste. Mix that up. And then you are going to put a top on this and turn it down, bring it up to a boil first, and then turn it down to a simmer and let it cook for about 20 to 30 minutes until the sweet potatoes are nice and tender. And we will tune you all back in when we get to that point. All right, so it's been about 20 minutes and our sweet potatoes are nice and soft. So the way you can tell is you can just scoop one out and pop it on a cutting board and just smoosh it with your spoon. If it comes apart really easily, it is soft and it is done and it's ready to go. So the next step is going to be putting that lime juice that we squoze in here. So this is about the juice of 1 lime. Pop that in there. And I'm going to just give that a little stir. And then your spinach. And the spinach, like I mentioned, it cooks so fast and you need about 3 cups. So I just do 3 generous handfuls because if you've ever cooked with spinach, you know it basically disappears once it gets wilted. So I'm just going to put that spinach on the top and I'm going to pop the top on for a minute just for it to wilt. And I usually serve this over rice. You can use white rice. That's kind of a more traditional kind of rice to have curry on top of, but if you're looking for a little more nutritional value, I actually, when I make this with my family, I make it with brown rice. And so then you can just take a scoop of rice, pop it in a bowl, a scoop of curry, pop it over your rice, and you have an entire meal full of protein from the chickpeas, full of healthy fats from the coconut milk, full of all that sweet potato, vitamin A and other vitamins, beta carotene from those orange vegetables, full of that leafy green goodness from the spinach, and you get a lot of great qualities from the herbs and spices that we put in here too. Ginger as well is a great medicinal herb and can help you with kicking viruses. If you ever have drinking ginger tea too, it's really good for stomach upset, so it settles an upset stomach, and good for nausea. So all these herbs that are in here too, don't forget that, you know, your food is actually food. It's comfort, it's community, it's love, and it's also medicine. So if you want to peek in this pot, look how fast that spinach wilted. It was like instantaneous. So now in here we have all of this deliciousness mixed up in a pot, ready to scoop onto a bowl of rice and enjoy with people that you love. So I hope you all enjoy this with people that you love if you try it at home. We'll put a recipe in the comments. I know I said I kind of ished the herbs, but we turned it into an actual recipe with tablespoons and teaspoons to give you a guide. And again, you can up or down the different spices and herbs to suit your taste. But if you try it at home, let us know what you think. Hope you love it as much as we do. And yeah, the growing season's right around the corner. So can't wait to get some of this fresh stuff fresh out of the garden very soon. See y'all. Thanks for tuning in.